Hey Sarah, I heard you're going to the Vegas for the Pac-12 championship tournament.
I am, Drew, but I can't tell you much about it because you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Sports Scene starts now. The men's basketball team is in Vegas getting ready to kick off the Pac-12 tournament. Right now, they're waiting on the Oregon State-Washington game tonight to find out who they'll be playing tomorrow. Welcome to the Annenberg Media Center. I'm Sarah McGrew.
And I'm Drew Jones. It's a big week for Pac-12 and USC basketball, so let's shot right into it. Jordan McLaughlin was honored by the Pac-12 in some big ways this week. The senior captain was named to the All-Pac-12 First Team, All-Pac-12 Defensive Team, and given honorable mention for the Pac-12 Academic Team. He was also named to the USBWA All-District Team. McLaughlin averaged 12.5 points and 7.5 assists per game.
And we can't forget about Chimezie Metu, who also received Pac-12 and USBWA honors. Metu joins McLaughlin on the All-Pac-12 First Team and the USBWA All-District Team. He was also named honorable mention to the All-Defensive Team and made it onto the All-Academic Second Team. What I really love is that these guys are able to get it done on the court and off the court.
I completely agree with you, Sarah. I think it's very impressive, but the Trojans are going to have a really tough time in the Pac-12 tournament, so they really need to focus on that.
That's right. The Trojans are a 2 seed going into the tournament, but despite a comfortable spot, they still have a lot to prove in Vegas. Coming off a loss to UCLA, the Trojans are going to have to focus on defense. If they win their first game tomorrow night, they could be matched up with Oregon, Utah, or Washington State. The Trojans swept those teams in the regular season, but Oregon and Utah are dangerous tournament teams and could prove difficult to beat a third time. Coach Infield talked about the tournament last weekend.
I think our accomplishment to come in second was our players deserve a lot of credit for that. So we're just going to have to stay focused on what we can control and go try to do our best in Las Vegas.
Depending on how the Trojans do in the Pac-12 tournament, it could hurt or help their NCAA bid.
Yeah, that's right, Drew. So obviously the stakes are really high for the Trojans. What do you think is going to happen? You think they'll take it all?
You know, I think they're going to have a really tough time. I think they'll make it far, but if they're matched up with Arizona in the championship game, it'll be really tough winning it all. Now let's check in with Pete and Stu for some Pac-12 bracketology.
Thanks, Drew and Sarah. Now let's break down the USC side of the bracket. The Trojans are either going to play the 7th-seeded University of Washington Huskies or the 10th-seeded Oregon State Beavers. I fully expect Washington, who won 20 games this season, to handle the 15-win Beavers in today's first-round matchup. Now moving to the quarterfinals, I don't see Washington upsetting the Trojans here. Yes, Washington beat the Trojans 88-81 at the Galen Center, but that's because USC went ice cold from the field while Washington put on a shooting clinic. The Huskies drained 8 of 16 of their shots from downtown, while the Trojans just went 3 of 20 from long range. Washington also shot a ridiculous 67% from the field, and I just don't see them duplicating that performance. So I have USC moving on.
I have to agree with you, Pete. I'd be surprised to see Oregon State take down Washington in the first round, but I wouldn't count out the Huskies so quickly in the quarterfinals against USC. The Huskies own quality wins over Arizona State and Arizona, and they shot 45%. Made 45% of their field goals on the season, an impressive feat. But what really makes them dangerous is their defense. They rack up over 8 steals a game, and that's bad news for USC, who suffered their worst losses of the season when they turned the ball over. 17 in the loss to Southern Methodist and 12 to Princeton. USC needs to take care of the ball to win that game against Washington. Should USC make it to the semis, they'll be facing the winner of Utah versus Oregon. I like Utah in that game just because they've been playing their best basketball down the stretch. Justin Bibbins, who is just 5'8", is averaging almost 15 points per game this year while shooting 45% from beyond the arc. USC has struggled to defend sharpshooting guards in the past, like Aaron Holiday. So if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to lock him down.
Well, Stu, I have Oregon knocking out Utah because Oregon have been on fire lately. The Ducks just took down Arizona and Arizona State, and their length can really frustrate their opponents, particularly Paul White and Kenny Wooten, the Pac-12's leading shot blocker. Oregon also has an advantage in close games as they're the best free throw shooting team in the Pac-12. And finally, Oregon's coach Dana Altman is one of the best in the conference. He's a master at switching between zone and man defense, and I think that's really going to help Oregon. But with all those positives, I'm still picking USC to beat the Ducks for the 3rd time this season and advance to the tournament finals against Arizona. USC is a better three-point shooting team. They have the best scoring defense in the Pac-12, and the Trojans will be more motivated because it's their last chance as a unit to make some noise not only in the Pac-12 tournament, but also the NCAA tournament. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, Stu, I think that USC has to beat Washington if they want to get a tournament bid, and a semifinal win should seal the deal. How many wins do you think USC needs to get that tournament bid?
I think they absolutely have to make it to the championship game, right? In order to guarantee their spot to the national tournament. The Trojans just have too many losses to teams that the selection committee can point to say that they don't deserve to be there. Princeton, SMU, Texas A&M, these are all unranked teams. And then they also got swept by the UCLA team that is unsure of their own postseason future at this point. So they really have to get to that championship. Not saying they have to make it, they just have to be there.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out in the next 4 days in Las Vegas. With Stu Gill, I'm Pete Gearson. Back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. You know what, Sarah? I'm already missing football season.
Well, Drew, you're in luck because spring football kicked off yesterday, and there's a lot to look forward to this season. The team took to the field for the first time since losing the Cotton Bowl to Ohio State in December. But there were some familiar faces missing, including Stephen Carr, Daniel Materbebe, and Marvel Tell III, who will be all out of spring practice recuperating from injuries. Jack Jones will also be sitting out of spring ball to focus on academics.
New team, it's a new year, and there's a new focus. And one of the things that I see with this football team is a great amount of depth. It may not have a true superstar right now, but it has some very talented individuals, and we're going to need to build this team from the bottom up.
Now, what's going on with the quarterback situation, Drew?
There are a few guys lined up for the starting quarterback job, and fans already want to know who will replace Sam Darnold. Ever since Darnold elected to the NFL draft, the QB discussion has been the talk of the town. With 4 quarterbacks on the spring roster and a 5-star recruit coming this fall, it is definitely a toss-up for who will lead the offense next year. Clay Helton says he's a big fan of all of his QBs, and it's too soon to tell who will be starting Game 1 next season.
I thought Maddie made some nice throws today, but it's day one, and we got 39 left, and I look forward to watching the film and just correcting them and trying to get them better. For me, for them, it's education this way through. How much closer can we get all our quarterbacks on this field closer to being Pac12 competition ready?
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see who will be under center for the Trojans this fall. But enough about the men. Let's check in with Olivia, who has the latest on women's sports at USC.
Spring season is always an exciting time at USC. There are 6 women's teams competing during the semester, so let's check in on those sports for a quick update. After earning their 20th win of the season, women's basketball lost to number 16 Stanford in the quarterfinals of the Pac-12 tournament. The women of Troy have to now wait until March 12th to see if their impressive season will help them make it to the tournament. The women's tennis team went undefeated in the entire month of February. They'll try to keep their streak alive as they head to Cal on March 9th and then Stanford the next day. Senior Madison Westby discussed why the team has been so successful so far.
Honestly, the energy on our team is it is really good right now. Everyone is working together and supporting one another. Even if their match isn't going as they planned, they're cheering on the person next to them, which is huge for us.
Ranked 12th, women's lacrosse starts a 4-game home stretch starting today against Boston College, so head out to McAllister Field to support them. Women's water polo has their home opener this weekend against number 8 UC Irvine. They're currently 10-1 on the season and are hoping to start a winning streak in their home waters. Junior Amanda Logan spoke with us about the tough upcoming games.
I expect us to learn from UCI and the difference, like I said before, in energy between all the games we played, and to prepare well, which I think we have, and to expect these to be 2 tough games.
Staying in the water, 4 USC women divers qualified for the NCAA Zone E Championships. Junior Maddie Witt and Tabby Kress, along with sophomores Naomi Gowlett and Carly Souza. Witt is looking for her 3rd trip to the NCAAs, and the others are looking for their 1st. Beach volleyball is currently 2nd in the nation and just beat the number 3 UCLA in a strong performance on Saturday. Their next games are in Manhattan Beach in the East Meets West Challenge on March 10th. Well, that's the latest for the women's side of spring sports. We'll keep you up to date on everything as their seasons continue. Anthony Chiridelli had a chance to check in on 2 women of Troy who recently graduated.
Thanks, Olivia. The beach volleyball season is here, and I caught up with 2 former Trojans who are taking their success from college to the pros. USC alums Sarah Hughes and Kelly Clays are prepping for the big time. They're beginning their first full season as pro beach volleyball players. They met 7 years ago at a high school volleyball camp in Orange County.
My coach was like, hey, we got this really tall athletic girl, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a go.
I actually was playing indoor at the time and went out and tried beach, and you know, from my perspective, this little blonde girl comes up to me and's like, hey, do you want to play with me? And I was like, okay.
Their head coach at USC spotted the pair's potential.
Kelly was a big, strong, athletic young girl at the time. With Sarah's background and with Kelly's athleticism, and if I put them together, there was a pretty good chance that they could be an excellent team. Secondly, they genuinely like each other, and that's a huge piece.
Clays and Hughes have already accomplished a lot in their young careers, leading USC to back-to-back-to-back national titles, and just 4 months after graduating, becoming the youngest pair ever to win an AVP Tour event. Hughes and Clays' professional coach thinks they can compete at the highest level.
They have a huge chance to win. They have a huge chance to qualify for the Olympics.
Hughes and Clays are the 11th ranked team in the world, and their confidence is growing with every match.
I was in Chicago in the championships, and we were usually just us, like, let's go, and she started like going this at the crowd. It was pretty awesome, and I don't know if it's going to continue, we'll see, but I kind of liked it.
I was really fired up in Chicago.
They hope to keep that fire burning to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. Heading into the court, Mary Paige Nesvetter had a chance to catch up with a star of the men's volleyball team.
Thanks, Anthony. We're talking about Jack Wyatt. It's a name you'll hear an awful lot of if you swing by any USC men's volleyball match this season. And after taking 2 years off from the sport, the outside hitter is back and better than ever. The redshirt junior rejoined the team this year after stepping away from volleyball his sophomore year following a particularly tough tournament. It wasn't long before he missed the game and sent a text to Coach Jeff Nygaard to see if he could come back. But long before all of this, Wyatt was just a kid from Laguna Beach who started playing the sport as a teenager.
It was huge, actually. It really started to grow when I got like the age of 14. That's when I kind of started to actually see how big it was. I didn't kind of start playing until I was about 14. So it was a huge sport, and all my friends played, so I have them to thank for getting me into the sport in the first place.
Just like his friends did back then, Wyatt says his teammates now helped him transition back into volleyball. In fact, they were so happy to have him back that they voted him one of the team's co-captains this year. Not bad for someone who didn't even think about playing college volleyball until his junior year of high school.
No, it really never was a goal of mine to play in college until I'd say late junior year. So I never really thought I was gonna, then the thought just kind of like was implemented into my head from my parents. They're like, you know, you probably could, and I was like, oh, okay, you know. So USC was kind of a dream school of mine, and when I knew I had the chance to play here, I just tried to jump on it.
Wyatt has been an absolute force for the Trojans this year, putting away a total of 237 kills so far and hitting a solid 276. Despite a rocky season for the Trojans, Wyatt says the team is still looking to finish strong and make it to the NCAA tournament.
Thanks, Mary Paige. LeBron James' free agency at the end of the season has been discussed for quite some time now, but a new recruiter has emerged in pursuit of King James.
That's right, Sarah. Former USC wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster announced on Twitter his official campaign to get LeBron James on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He says he can be the best athlete ever if he makes the move to the NFL and wins a Super Bowl with Steeler Nation.
You know what? I could definitely see LeBron suiting up next to Juju, but what do you think about it as a Steelers fan, Drew?
Well, we need a tight end. As a Warriors fan, I completely hate it, but as a Steelers fan, it's remarkable for any athlete that wants to come to the Berg and win a Super Bowl.
Well, I don't know. I think it could happen. I really do.
You never know.
Thank you for tuning into Sports Scene. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Annenberg Media Sports. I'm Sarah McGrew.
And I'm Drew Jones. Have an amazing spring break, and we'll see you next time.